So clearly my star was rising. But later that spring, only a matter of a few weeks or a few months later as it turned out, Reubart dumped me. And it was all over. And I've never forgotten that last lesson. It was not my absolute worst, but at the same time not one of my better ones because I didn't always practice as I should have. And Dr. Reubart was particularly agitated on this occasion, and he finally ended the lesson abruptly and asked me to leave his studio so that he and my mother could talk in private. I was anxious to plead my case with him and tell him, I'm sorry, I'll do better, I promise. But at the same time, I was afraid that wouldn't do me any good. And so instead, I ended up asking him, well, what's this all about? And he answered, you don't know and you don't want to know. I tried to listen through the door, but I couldn't hear anything because they kept their voices low, and music studios are invariably well soundproofed. For the longest time afterward, I blamed myself for having had one bad lesson too many. But recent developments in our family feud have forced me to reevaluate that. And here's what I remember. Invariably, after a bad lesson, my mother would impose a guilt trip on me for not practicing, not applying myself, as she put it. This time she didn't do that. But one comment she did make around that time is very revealing. She told me that Dale Reubart was trapped in a failing marriage. Now, your guess is as good as mine why a 12-year-old boy, of all people, should be expected to be the least bit interested in the strange couple's marital problems. But my mother felt I should be. And she's the only one who told me this. I never heard that verified by Reubart himself, nor by anyone else. And here's another piece to the puzzle. My parents had separated the previous October, 1974. And when my father filed for divorce, the Kawai baby grand piano, of all things, suddenly became a prized commodity in the division of assets. And as if that isn't strange enough, my mother cried on my shoulder for the longest time afterward that she was afraid she would lose the piano. Now, I find that strange because I've been through a divorce myself from an unscrupulous woman, who was basically just up to screw me for every penny she could get out of me. She took half the proceeds of the sale of our house, on which I paid all the mortgage, including principal, interest, and taxes, all the insurance, the phone, hydro, heat, light, and utilities. She paid for cable, but then she wouldn't let me watch any television. And she bought some food for herself, which she wouldn't cook for me, and I ended up on my own in terms of food, and including eating out at restaurants a lot of times. And then over and above that, the courts awarded her a spousal maintenance claim against me for about $26,500 based on a medical condition which was supposed to have prevented her from seeking gainful employment, despite her having circulated 7 editions of her resume, of which I have copies, proving her intent to seek employment, assumably while plagued with that condition. And not only myself, 2 of my older brothers, Jim and David Laeser, also bear the scars of failed marriages, and they could tell you their stories from hell. And all 3 of us brothers will agree that the benefits of so-called democracy in the divorce court favor those who don't earn an income, while those who do are instead subject to stinking red communism. Now, I'm not at liberty to comment on my brother's cases, but I can tell you that I certainly came out an awful lot better in my own case than what I could have, simply because my wife did earn some of the household income, say about 20%, as a nanny and a caregiver. I earned the remaining 80%, and we didn't have any children. So you can imagine how much further behind the 8 ball my dad was. When I earned $40,000 in the cabinet making industry in 2009, he earned almost that amount as senior systems analyst at the head office of BC Hydro in 1974, when the dollar could buy a heck of a lot more. I'm the youngest of his 5 children. And while my 3 older brothers were earning pocket change doing paper routes, our mom was earning nothing. So, all things being equal, the cards should have been stacked in her favor in the divorce court from the beginning. And over and above all that, since I remained with her in Vancouver's Arbutus Ridge area, a mere 10-minute drive from UBC, following the separation, since I remained as I was enrolled in Queen Elizabeth Elementary in Point Grey, since I appeared destined to become a virtuoso concert pianist, and if our mother's claim could be believed, that my training was being paid for by an anonymous benefactor and not by our father, then David and Jim and I will all agree that our dad shouldn't have stood the slightest hope in hell of getting the piano. So what was our mother worried about? Well, the obvious answer is that there's more to the story than what she's told us. And she knows it, and she knows that she knows it.